for a number of brands. However, today I want to talk about one of the things that I'm really passionate about, which is getting an image through the creative process, out of the creative process, shot, post-produced, and out at the end. Can I just have a show of hands? How many of you print pictures? Not enough. Because if it's not printed, it's not really a photograph. It has to be printed. Right. You did notice, didn't you, that Jeremy was late? I will punish him for that as we go. So for just, and I will overrun, I apologise, I will overrun. But if I just show you this little slideshow, there's no rhyme or reason to why these images are here, other than the fact that I like them. Some of them are clients, well they're all clients, because unfortunately I tend not to pick the camera up unless somebody's paying me, because Tesco won't let me have my food for nothing. But some of them are social clients, many of them are commercial clients, from commissions from Swedish Vogue, to lingerie manufacturers, to an Aston Martin race team, and everything and all points in between. Now, what I want to talk about today, or actually we should have probably started with this a little bit, it's just that I'm not technically clever enough to make it all work the way that we expect to see it. Awesome, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the photography show. I never promised to be technically adept at stuff. I can take a picture just about, but this stuff scares me. And welcome to Concept Capture and Create, brought to you by Permajet. I have done my own dissolve and fades and little bits of animation here. So if you see anything that's marginally okay, just give me a little ripple, because as somebody over 45, to get to grips with technology like this, I think I'm doing pretty okay. So, I've been asked to come, thank you, I've been asked to come and talk about the anatomy. I don't think we are born creative. We have people that are born and they're a little bit more creative to begin with, but it is something we can all learn to do. Now I believe that the best pictures come from an initial conceptual idea where we think about stuff. So I get lots and lots of ideas from lots of different places. They might be music, especially lyrics. If anybody's actually as old as I am, you might remember a band called Marillion. One of my favourite albums is Misplaced Childhood, and it has such wonderful lyrics in it, like huddled in the safety of a pseudo silk kimono. Not just a silk kimono, a pseudo silk kimono. So immediately we know it's a bit cheap and naff. And that's the power that words have for me, because they enable me to think about things. So music is a great way of getting inspiration. Art is a fantastic way. I mean, I'm very lucky. We live not too far from Liverpool, and the Walker Art Gallery in Liverpool is always a source of inspiration for me. And when we think about it as photographers, all our lighting patterns are taken from fine artists. In fact, one of the most popular lighting patterns being Rembrandt's very own. But if you've been to art school, a little bit like I allegedly did, you'll realise that lots of Rembrandt's pictures didn't have that little triangle of light on the opposite side of the face. But I do strongly advise that if you want to get yourself a bit more revved up, that you start to look at these things and sort of absorb it. When I first started in photography back in 1986, I used to virtually spend everything I made running down to W.H. Smith and buying all the fashion magazines and all the photographic magazines, and there were an awful lot of them back then. And I'd cut out the pictures that I liked. I know it's so low tech, isn't it? And I'd stick them in scrapbooks. And then once I've filled the scrapbook, I'd work out there's a hole here. I'm just desperately trying to fall down it because, as you know, well, there's blame, there's a claim. And once I filled the scrapbook up, I'd analyse what it was that I liked within the body of the pictures. Now I must have literally dozens and dozens of these A3 scrapbooks back at home. Again, much to Leslie's annoyance, because she thinks it's just clutter. But as artists, we know it's a vital resource, don't we? So, is Leslie wrong? Yeah, you're a lot braver than I am to say that. Or even simple conversation. People will say something and it'll set me off on this little merry path of thinking of things. So, my advice is simple. Like I did in the beginning of my career, I stole other people's visions and other people's ideas and then put my spin on it so I could see how pictures grew and developed. And then once we've got an idea, as a team we have a little chat about it and we produce a makeup sheet and a mood board. For those that don't know what that is, it looks a little bit like that, but we are certainly not that tidy or organised. But you guys have the advantage now that I didn't have all that time ago. How many of you have a Pinterest account? It's an absolute key resource to being able to sort of visualise the ideas that you want to shoot. So, from my point of view, oh, I like this because it's just a little animation. It's a bit sad with me, but I found it and I thought I'd put it into my slideshow. Again, just humouring me by a little ripple of applause. Thank you very much. So, what we do is, once we've got an idea of what we're going to shoot, we work it all out, we put it down on paper so we've got something to reference ourselves to, and then we build it. And then we build each light one brick at a time, and that's what we're going to do now. And I am rushing slightly because I know that they're going to let me run over a little bit, but I want to get as much in as possible as I can and hopefully get something out the other end of the printer. Now, just in case we do run over terribly, we have done the old Blue Peter. Here's one I prepared earlier. But the clue to what we're going to shoot now is what you saw in the little PowerPoint. Do you remember the picture of the nuns? I had this sort of Hylas in the water nymph slash the nuns picture slash Doctor Who idea. So if we can welcome onto stage Lily, our makeup artist and stylist and chief maker of things, who is now struggling to get up the stairs. I'm going to shoot. But why does she always get a bigger clap than me? And that was a little bit pathetic. If we're going to do clapping, we need to make an effort. So let's just try again. Ladies and gentlemen, Lily. Whoa. It's my name on the bill, not hers. Right, so we're going to try and take an inspired beauty portrait. And I want to make it as relevant and as easy as possible. So I've not brought up on stage thousands of pounds worth of equipment. We're going to do it with speed lights, and we're going to do it with simple modifiers, and we're going to make it look as best as we possibly can. The only thing I'm not prepared to compromise on tool-wise, other than Jeremy, is, and he's paying me to insult him. It's wonderful, isn't it? Is a light meter. Now I don't mind which make or which model you use, I just want you to use one. Because all our cameras measure reflected light, and reflected light is not as good as incident light, the light that falls on the subject. Now I'm just thinking I might have put Jeremy in the wrong corner there, Because if I'm going to use this white background as my background, I probably want to be another few feet that way taking my picture. Now unfortunately I don't have the ability to either walk on water or walk on air, so there might be some sort of terrible crashage thing going on at some point. But architectural mood lighting or light coming through the skylight, natural daylight, and I need to know that because what I want to be able to do is decide whether I'm going to use it or ignore it. Now that measures the ISO 200 and 8 at f4. So it probably means I can use a little bit of it as fill if I need to raise the density of the shadows, but I'll decide that as I go along, and that's not necessarily a cop-out, it's just the process that I want to use. Now, if Leslie, if you could assist me, Lily, if you just step to about there for me, if you can, if it's possible. Honestly. Well, I'd rather you fall than me. Right, that's not very polite, is it, to be honest, but we'll see. Right, so what we're going to do is, first, I like to use a thing that I call the Lego brick process. It's building the lights up one block at a time. Now, no matter how good you are, you can only build a light one set at a time and know that it's going right. Because at the end of the day, if you've got 16 lights and you're using 16 lights, if there's one light that's not right, it's very hard to backwards engineer where that problem is. So from my point of view, if we do it this way round and take just a snap at each point of capture, then it enables me to be able to sell it. Because it gives me the ability to be able to mould and shape the light in the way that I want it, and it's dead easy to carry around. And as an Ellencromb fan, I'm going to be using a 105cm silver parabolic. Would you like the best side? To back of my head. Oh, 20 years ago I was good looking. Right, but I need to measure each light independently. So, Leslie, if you would like to get in on the other side for me, are these both on one channel? Right, I'm going to let Leslie do the technical bit while I do the chatting and tell you what it is that I'm intending to do. I'm hopefully going to light the white wall enough to return some light and let it seep through Lily and backlight her at the same time. Now normally that would be a massive no-no, because I'm sure you've all read or seen on a DVD or whatever it is that you get your information from, YouTube or Facebook, that we should overlight a white background by 2 to 3 stops. That's correct, isn't it? Right, there's a technical word for that, it's called rubbish. Think about it in pure terms of physics. If Lily is lily coloured at f4 or f8 or f2, then surely a white backdrop should be the same, should be white at the same f-stop. Now that's pure certain physics, but what we don't have in the real world is a specular 255 Photoshop white. So if we want it to glow, we need to overlight by, in essence, about 3/4 of a stop. So practically about a stop. So if I want to shoot this at 5.6, I'm going to measure the wall at f8. Now normally in my studio I use a thing that I made up called zonal controller lighting, which means nothing more than you just put the person in the right place. Because I'm fortunate, my camera room I can get up to 60 foot back, so I can get the subject about 24 foot away from the background. So it means that whatever I light in the background, it doesn't affect the subject. So a good way of you testing whether you're going to get high key pictures that eat away at the flash of the subject is to meter the wall and then meter it off the back of the subject's head. And if the back of the subject's head meter reading is more than your key light, you don't have a problem. So that's a bit of a tip. Don't bother applauding at that point. You can whistle if you want though. Right, so I'm going to shoot this at 5.6. I'm going to meter this, so hopefully I get it to be f8. And all I'm interested really is in the top half of Lily, because I'm not going to walk off and stand in space. Leslie, if you can pull that back to the same as I am, and we're just aiming it at that space behind Lily. And then I'm going with my very svelte nurse, just point it down for me and raise the actual stand, please. And I'm just eyeballing it, because I want it to be roughly equidistant. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be near enough. And then I'm going to step out of the way, put my meter on the back wall, and Leslie, you're going to flash. One of my top tips is to change your meter to read flash, and not leaving it on the ambient. Once more, Leslie, that it could go down about half a stop. Let's leave it for now, because what I'm rushing to do is to shoot the build-up pictures, get the final picture, do a little bit of post-production, send it off to Jeremy prints it out, and then whoever wants the print, you're more than welcome to it. If you want me to totally devalue it, I'll even sign it. It's entirely up to you. So what I need to do in my process is just check that I'm doing each bit right. Thank you, because otherwise if Leslie hadn't got her thinking head on, I'd be trying to take a picture without a trigger and it wouldn't work. So all I'm interested now is in seeing how much light bleeds through Lily. There might be a tiny bit too much. I've also decided, for no good reason other than creatively, I think it will be cool, I'm going to shoot this as a square image. So I can do that in the camera, which is okay, and then hopefully can I get back far enough? The answer is no, so I'm going to ask Leslie to run off stage and get me out of my bag a 17mm lens, please. So it just shows how inept I am and how much I actually don't know. But that's something that's really important as a professional photographer. Sometimes, earlier on in my career, I'd shoot something that didn't quite work, and I'd panic about it, and I wasn't brave enough or professional enough to say, whoa, stop, I need to change something. Now I am old and I am lazy, so I don't want to shoot a million things. I just want to get as much as I can do right, as near as I can in camera, because at the end of the day I don't earn money in post-production. I earn money capturing the image and it printing off the printer, because printing your work should be a little bit like printing banknotes. You'll also notice that I'm going to shoot off the back of the screen, and that's just a pure lazy thing from my point of view, because I'm not sure you will have noticed yet, but I am mechanically advantaged over other normal men. That can come down just a little bit both sides. Right, but just to prove that it's not all fakery, you can see that who looks the most trustworthy in the front row? Let's go back a row. Right, come up with your hipster beard. Right, is that a pure white background? Apart from the bit that I'm lowering it on the bottom. And we don't know one another, do we? We've never met. But Mum's okay, isn't she? Okay, so that just shows, I'll come this side as well. Just trying to build me part up here, Jeremy. Paid by the word. So you agree, there's no sort of smoke and mirrors going on. Right. So now we're going to turn those off, because I'm happy with my background picture. And I'm only interested now in the key light. Now, I'm sure if you go over to the flash sensor stand, you'll really be able to annoy him by saying, I've just seen Damien using this parabolic umbrella, and he said that you'd let me have 75% off the cost of one if I was to buy one. Now I'm sure they won't give me 75% off, but I'm sure they'll do a deal. Just like Jeremy doesn't know what I'm concocting in my mind at the moment. I'd like him to start panicking. Now, what I want to do is I want to put a salient lighting pattern into Lily's face, but I've got to understand that I've got to get me lighting under that amazing costume that cost us, about 50 quid, maybe all told. Most of it is actually foam. Is that not gospelly true? Is this foam? Don't tell Jeremy that. I've told him it costs much more than that. I probably said hundreds. Right. Right, somebody else that looks spry. You just want to jump on stage and touch that and just check it's foam. Anybody? No? Okay, that's fine, you believe me. Millions wouldn't. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack the odds in my favour, and I'm going to get her to look slightly off camera, because then that way I'm not going to have a major boo-boo. Well, I might actually still have a major boo-boo and fall off the stage. We've not got to the end of the demo yet, have we? But I'm stacking the odds in my favour of not killing myself. So I think I'm going to look for a butterfly or Rembrandt lighting, no I'm not, butterfly or Paramount lighting pattern. You need to sort that out please, Leslie. It's in TTL, I want it to be in manual. Where I'm just going to drop a little bit of shadow underneath Lily's nose. I'm going to be able to cut her cheekbones out, and probably because of the style of the picture I'm going to overexpose by maybe half a stop. And the reason I'm going to do that is for A, aesthetic value, and B, because I don't want to do a load of retouching. I've got to get a picture out here. So by doing it this way, what I can actually do is basically blow out some of the skin imperfections, should Lily actually have any of them. And this isn't me being clever. This is what we used to do in a thing way back when we used to use a product called film. And film didn't have Photoshop to come along with it. So what we had to do was try and get it right in camera as much as possible. Now, I'm going to light or shape Lily with that edge of the umbrella, and this side of it is just going to return a little bit of fill. So from my point of view, I'm just stacking the odds in my favour of making it as easy as possible for me. Now, I've got to meter it, thank you Leslie. Do you notice how I just couldn't survive without the girls? It's like being married twice or having carers. Now again, I'm going to touch it to Lily's nose. That sounded expensive. But I've got to check it in the right place. And to do that, I've got to get them comfortably close to Lily. I take no pleasure in this whatsoever. Honestly, she's like a scamp Rottweiler. She scares me. Right, this is just a little bit too raked, so I'm just levelling it off slightly, because what I'm looking for is I'm looking to get light both into the ocular cavity and create shape from the nose. Now, given the choice, what would I rather have? I'd rather have light in the ocular cavity rather than the perfect shadow shape, because if our eyes are not illuminated, it doesn't look cool. Give us a flashlight. Oh, technical issues. Leslie's broken. Yeah, you have. Oh. Right, somebody like to ask a question so far while Leslie panics under the pressure. That's why I don't do my own lighting anymore. Because if it's like a radio problem or anything like that, I can't be blamed, can I? Are we all following where we're up to? It's just criminally simple, isn't it? You know, if we can get a shot out of it at the end of today, then we'll be doing really well. All right, look at you, smarty pants, fixing it once more. Right, much more power, please. What am I on to there? Right, go. Give me a quarter power, please. Yeah. And give me half power. Sorry. Now you'll notice I'm returning the meter back to Lily's nose. Not to be annoying, but why? Why am I doing it? Why am I getting that close? Anybody got an answer to that? Sorry? No, nothing to do with the fall off of the light. It's the only way I can get around the injunction. No, that's not true. It's just consistency. It's nothing more than being consistent. Because at such distances, if I'm sort of 6 inches sloppy, I could add a half stop. And if I'm out a half stop there and a half stop somewhere else, all of a sudden I'm not getting a really good exposure. It compromises the quality of the image, and it means what? What does it mean? It means I have to spend more time in Photoshop or Lightroom fixing stuff. And my job is not fixing stuff. Hopefully my job is taking a decent picture. Do you know what we should do just before I capture this? You okay there, Jeremy? Have you got cramp yet, Jeremy? Right. Just before we go hurtling towards the last part of what we're doing, while I've still got you, and you still look relatively happy, what we should do is a quick selfie with me in it so you look happy. What I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, just for feedback for me, at this point, I want you to show me how much you've enjoyed the information or found it useful. If you find it useful a little bit, just do that. If you find it useful a lot, obviously the wider your hand spread, the more I know that it's actually meant something to you, and ultimately I can look at what we're doing and review it. So if you could just do that for me later on, it helps me too. Phone round, doesn't it? I am not of the selfie generation. Right, just, that looks okay, one more, that looks okay. So it seems as though you're getting a little bit out. And another tip is, right, if you ever want to get a picture at the end of a presentation where there's almost a wild applause ovation, you've just learned out how to do it. So, let me see if I've got my key light in the right place. I think I have. Lily, go back to the pose we decided. Looking all very angelic. And just checking my key light, and I'm going to overexpose by the half stop I spoke about. So he isn't trustworthy, is he? Madam, would you like to come forward? Can you just confirm for the lovely members of the audience that there is light in Lily's eyes, and I'd like a bit more of a shadow under her nose. Don't look at this, stay there. Let me do it again. God, why don't we hire models with big noses? Much easier. I just flashed myself in the face then, didn't I, kid? Never mind. Right, try and think bigger nose. Catch lights, nice even clean lighting on the face, is that okay? Awesome, thank you very much. Right, so what we'll do is we'll put all these on my blog at some point and you can see how they've built up. I'm going to cheat slightly now, because what I am going to do is I'm going to add a little tiny bit of secret sauce, and I'm going to change my white balance, and I'm going to change it to the incandescent light bulb. And what that should do for me is it should make the naturally daylight balanced flash, it should turn it blue. So it just gives me a little bit of a cool, no pun intended, effect going on. Because if we can, we all want to have it looking cool and brilliant, don't we? So I'll take it once more. I'm trying to build your part up, Lily, so people actually think you're doing something, instead of literally just standing there. Not yet. Brilliant. Leslie just asked me the important question then. Do we want the other lights turning on? And I don't at that point. All I want at that point is just to see, am I getting a little hint of coolness to my picture? And I am. Now we can turn them on and I'm ready to go. You take that, take the camera as well if you want, because I'm just going to finesse my light ever so slightly and make sure I'm getting a bit more of a nose shadow. Are you printing away there, Jeremy? You've not what? Already done? Would you like to see the one we created earlier, just in case? Have you really? What, when you were there? That's an incredibly quick printer then, isn't it? Right, so that's what we're looking at attempting to produce. I'm going to put that there. If anybody would like it at the end, if you've got a pen, like I say, I'll totally devalue it and sign it for you. And I'll let you have it on one condition and one condition only. If I see it on eBay in the next week, I will hunt you down. Is that fair enough? Seems right. Right, are we good? Cool beans. So right, I'm going to get my capture going now. Just chin down just a teeny tiny bit for me, Lily. That's awesome. That's brill. And look, try and look sort of less Sister Act and more angelic. Just look down a little. You can't, you're a Scouser. See, I can hear what she's saying, and you all think I'm being horrible and cruel, and I'm not. I'm just repeating what she's saying. But because you can't hear her, you think it's me. That's not fair. Awesome. Right. So now here comes, how am I doing for time? How am I doing for time? What did I do with my phone? It's there. Let's just say. Ooh. Right, okay. One of the reasons I'm a big fan of Mac is not just because of the fact that it runs arty-farty software really well. I like my older MacBook Pro because it has an SD card slot in the side, which means can we have a round of applause for Lily for the tiny little bit? Can I just point out that on stage we do have a decibelometer thing in the jig, so I know how much you clap for Lily. I'm still working. At the end, if my clap is not louder, there will be trouble. So, what I'm going to do is find the file that I'm after. And I'll load them into, along with a load of other rubbish that I've got, I'll load it into Lightroom. So bear with, I know where it is now. Now this is the bit that I'm not really confident in doing in front of people, purely and simply because I see myself as a photographer. Although we use Lightroom and Photoshop every day, and every image needs some degree of digital manipulation, I am a massive fan of just getting it right as much as I can in camera. Don't want that, let's just untick them all, just for speed, uncheck all. Now I won't be able to find the ones I actually want, but hey ho, we'll guess. I'm going to guess it's probably that one. Mac's going to think about it for a minute or two, which is really, really annoying. I'll tell you what I'll do again is I'll ask Leslie to come on stage, and Leslie, as a technical guru, can do all the bits that I've just broken. I just want to, I've done it. It's alright, I don't need you, it's fine. Right, come on, where are you? Oh, I've not got my eye driving. Leslie, do you know why I was being really rude at you? Could I just have my Lightroom catalogue drive out of my briefcase? Right, this is a really good tip, because I don't store anything on my Mac. I have a separate drive. I'd like to say it was my idea, but it's not. I pinched it from Scott Kelby. But it just means that if I'm going anywhere, or if I'm really bothered about anything, that I can just take this with me, and I've got my current set of images with me. So let's just do that, that's okay. I don't want that to be the case. And the way that I normally do it, that's why it proves that I'm a bloke, because I can't do two things at once. I can't actually chat to you and do anything that's sensible. So I'm just going to go and take all of them, go edit, copy, that can be shut down now. Then there's my Lightroom drive, and I'm just going to put them on here, no, because that'll just all go wrong. I better just follow the way that I would normally do it. So 2019, and we'll call the folder TPS Permajet. Because the other thing that'll happen is, awesome, I'll not be able to remember what I called them. So you can see I've copied in a couple of the first offs that we did, where I had to mess around with stuff. So then now what I'm going to do is I want to ignore that. I want to go import. I want to open my Lightroom drive. I want to open the photography bit. I want to open the commissions bit. I want to open 2019. And I want to open TPS Permajet. Don't want them. I will load the others just to see if there's any difference, and I'll import them because we'll give Lily a choice. So I've imported the JPEG and the RAW file. Now when I'm normally working, because it's normally a rush, and normally with whatever I'm using at the time, I don't necessarily have the luxury of using the RAW file. Right, I prefer the last one, so I'm going to use the AUF. Just throw it into the develop mode. Now me and Photoshop and Lightroom is a little bit like an orangutan with a crayon. So I'm putting my cold, little bit in there, just going to tweak my exposure, going to move my contrast, going to make sure that I'm not blowing out my highlights, raising my shadows, punching my whites, blacks are okay. Clarity, because I've shot it on an OMD, I never really go above 8, because I found that gives me the best effect that I can get. Now I could be really clever and try and retouch stuff, but I'm not going to be, because I want to get the actual prints off as quick as I can. So what I am going to do is just recrop it, because I am that lazy. Nice square, central crop, job done, awesome. Now I need to get that to Photoshop. Now this is where we see Jeremy panicking just a little bit. So all I'm going to do is go export. Doesn't matter where it goes at the moment, I'll find it later, but I'm just exporting it as a PSD, an Adobe RGB 1998 at 16 bits. So in other words, what I'm doing is I'm giving myself the best file data I've got to play with. I'm giving myself the most information I can. Now the truth is that you can't necessarily print all that data. Let me just do that. Let me just export it properly. Right, go in there. All I wanted it to say is open an Adobe Photoshop after I've exported it. What's it telling me to do there? Nothing that I don't want it to do. That'll go there, just got open. Right, and it should open it in Photoshop in a second for me. There goes one file, there was the one we shot earlier. Let's get rid of Lightroom. Where's Photoshop? Come to me Photoshop, the beautiful thingy. And there we go. Now, how are we doing time-wise? Would you like to know how I do my retouching? Right, basically what I do is I tend to work on layer masks. So if I think like an old-fashioned photographer, I think as though I'm in my darkroom. So I make a dodge and a burn layer. So basically 2 curve layer masks. It's very hard doing it when you're not attached to a monitor. And then the top one, I just pull down so it's a little bit darker than I would like it to be. And then I invert that mask. And then the other knob I push up so it's a little bit lighter than I would like it to be. I told you it was a bit like an orangutan with a crayon, and I invert that mask. And then I use my paintbrush tool with white paint and I paint directly on the mask. So, just for argument's sake, let's say that little bit of shadow inside the wimple I want to be a bit darker. I just paint it in at a lower opacity and make sure I'm making it look the way I want it to. Can you see that working? Yeah? It's ludicrously simple, isn't it? If I can do it, anybody can do it. But the one that generally works for a little bit of fashion work is when you're adding the lighter bits to the picture. So, it's a good job Lily's left the stage, otherwise she'd be really having a fit about like the skin. There's nothing I can do about it. What can I do? It's not my fault. Oh, hello Lily. Right, I really didn't know she was there. Thanks for warning the audience. That's not very nice of you. And then once I'm happy with it, I'll just flatten the file. And I am very, very lazy, so things like the join in the wall, I'll use content aware fill if I can to get rid of most bits that are the odd spot. Let's just zoom Lily back out because I have to work with her. I don't want her moaning at me. That's not a spot, it's just a little beauty blemish. Again, I'll use the content aware tool and I'll just paint them out. Now in my world, where we're producing images as best as we can for the client, skin retouching is very, very important. But that is a whole thing all of itself. So what I'm going to do now, just to make Jeremy's life a little bit easier, is I'm going to sample part of the grey. It's not dark enough for what I want. And I'm just going to go select all, edit, stroke, and I'm going to stroke the inside of the bounding box with 6 pixels worth of that dark selection, so you can see on a high key picture where everything goes. And again, from my point of view, because I'm super lazy, I already have made on my ridiculously untidy Mac a set of templates. So I can then choose a ready-made template which I can drag. Wrong one, Damien. Let's get rid of that. Where was I? Is it that one? Oh no. There we go. I can then drag. I know it's gone behind, bear with me. It's back to that doing 2 things at once. Can't do it because I'm a man. How many of you enter competitive pictures, you know, club competitions, professional competitions, right? What size does your picture have to be when you enter it, if it's printed? 2016, isn't it? There or thereabouts. So I already have these made. So if I am going to enter something, I can decide at the very last minute, obviously you can't have your name on it, but I can decide to get them out there and get them sorted easily enough. And then just for Jeremy, not to make it hard for him, I'm going to flatten the image. I'm going to go File. Can I have, please, Jeremy, your wonderful USB shenanigan thingy? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Can we have a round of applause for Jeremy? I'm just going to get rid of my Lightroom drive so I can shove Jeremy's drive in. Now, can I just ask Jeremy, there is nothing on this drive that is yours. I'm going to put in here and I'm going to be embarrassed about it. Are you sure you planned? Oh, Jeremy knows me well, because if there had been something that would have been slightly spurious, I'm fairly certain that I would have found it. This is like a brick of gold to me. This has to be looked after. This is how I make my money. So now I've finished with it, it goes back in my briefcase, because that's dead important. So, right, back to Photoshop. From Photoshop, I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to call it J Bonds Print, because I told Jeremy I'd do as much as I possibly can for his image. What's Jeremy's disk called? I'm just going to save it to the desktop just for a second. I'm going to make it a JPEG, so it's not, oh, I haven't closed it. I'll save it as a copy because I didn't make it non-16-bit. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Can anybody see it? There it is. Where's Jeremy's drive? Why isn't your drive? Come on, Jeremy. I've not plugged it in properly. Okay. Can I just point out, ladies and gentlemen, that thus far it has been perfect up until receiving Jeremy's USB drive. Why is your USB drive not working, Jeremy? What did you do to it, Jeremy? Can I pull this sound thingy out now and it affect me talking? Awesome sauce, just in case. See, it's not coming up. What have you done, Jeremy? What have you done?
Put it in the right way.
Right, and that's extra money, Jeremy, because you said if I could get you involved and make you look cool. I think you actually said, if you could make me look as though I came to your rescue, Damien, then that would be rather cool and you'd enjoy that. So now I can unplug it and I can send it to Jeremy, and then I can go back to the keynote and I can talk about a few important things. Now, if we go back to the keynote, what I want to talk about is vitally important. So let's go back. Right, so once the image is captured, it's Lightroom and Photoshop, we've seen that. Now here is the most important thing. If your images live there on hard drives, USBs, tablets, phones, they do not exist. They are just data. And how many of us in the audience have ever lost a phone? Put your hand up if you've lost a phone, or had your phone corrupt. And I bet you've lost thousands of really important pictures, haven't you? Right, so the moral of the story is, it's time to break the paper out. Now I have some favourite Permajet papers. My absolute favourite is fibre-based gold silk. Anything that we print on, or Leslie prints on for me at work, is fibre-based, because I want to tell my clients I'm giving them the very best quality that I can. So maybe it elevates the price ever so slightly, But we're not here to do it for free, are we? This is how we earn a living. Are you done yet, Jeremy? Oh. Right, so these are the things to be really, really at the forefront of your mind when you're talking about printing. Image appropriate paper. What do I mean by that? If you've got really dark blacks or really vibrant colours, choose a substrate that will hold all that data, all that ink. And experts like Permajet are awesome at this because they'll tell you what your work is going to look best on. Make sure you're installing and using ICC profiles. That is the little bit of magic language that talks between your monitor, what you see on your monitor, and what's spit out of your printer. Now again, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, Jeremy, do you still offer a free ICC profile generating Shizbagin? Right, so you can download a target from their website, print it out on your printer with your paper, send it into them, and they will make you a custom-made ICC profile. Now, when I started printing years ago, that cost thousands and thousands of pounds. We invested in the equipment to actually do that. So the fact that they'll do it for you as many times as you wish, because the secret is when you change batches of paper or you change an ink cartridge, you need to have a new one done. That's awesome, it's fantastic. Don't forget to soft proof within Photoshop. So when you're working in Photoshop, make sure that you've got it so the screen shows you what your image looks like on the paper that you're trying to print on. Now, my wonderful better half is a Permajet Ninja ambassador of the Platinum type, and she does some amazing printing workshops, better than Jeremy, better than the Permajet. She is the one. Is she listening? Yeah, she's the one.
Ladies and gentlemen, day 2 of the show 2019 is now closed.
Quiet, I'm talking!
Thank you.
Right, and most importantly, have fun, enjoy it. Is there anybody here that I might have inspired to want to print a little bit more? Anybody? Right, hang on, put your hands up. No, let's do it the other way around. Put your hand up if you print already. Right, put your hand up if you don't print but I've inspired you to want to start printing. Keep your hand in the air if you don't have a printer. Right, see that lady there, Jeremy? See that one there? Stand up for me, madam, please. If you go to the Permajet stand, I'll ensure that Permajet give you a nice printer to start printing with. You have to have a selfie with me and Jeremy, but that's what's going to happen. After the show, you'll get a printer. Don't be greedy, don't be asking for one of them floor standing ones. Just go for a teeny tiny one to begin with. But Jeremy, you'll do that, won't you? What a nice man, what a nice man. He's got his not happy face on. Right, so, anybody got any question so far? Because all that's left for me to say, other than answer questions in a moment, is to thank you for our short time together. But remember, if it isn't printed, it isn't a photograph. If you've enjoyed it, I just want to say thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. We do appreciate it. If you've enjoyed it, go and follow us on social media, and both Permajet, both Team McGillicuddy, and we'll do our best to keep you edutained as we go. If you have enjoyed it, I've been Damien McGillicuddy. If it's been average, my name has been Jeremy Pridgeon. Anybody got any questions? Yes, sir, you were slower, he was quicker. You'll have to shout because I'm a bit deaf. No, it can be any photo quality printer. It doesn't have to be brand specific, although I am quite a fan of the Canon printers with what I've seen. We've actually, I shouldn't really say this, but we're changing from one brand of printer to another brand of printer based on the output that I've seen. But it doesn't really matter. You can have an ICC profile made for any paper, obviously Permajet, for any printer, but it then becomes printer specific. So if you've got, let's say, one of those Canon 1000s, you can't use that profile on an Epson 800. It's got to be specific, but as they'll make as many as you want, it doesn't really matter, does it? Yes, sir.
Does the ICC profile, is that per type of paper?
Yes. Gentleman's just asked, is the ICC profile per type of paper? So it is printer specific and paper specific. And if you're really doing it properly, it's batch of paper specific and set of inks specific to that printer. But as they're doing it for nothing, it seems silly not to make them use a little bit of those wonderful resources to give you good stuff. Anybody else question wise? Anything? Nothing? Happy? Have you had a lovely day at the photography show? Did you enjoy that? Was it beneficial? You've got a printer out of it, haven't you? That's awesome, isn't it? And I don't know you do, I've never met you before. I'm going to get in such trouble for this. So if you see me in the pub, you need to buy me a drink.